can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, today's video, I'm going to be talking about Daredevil number 6 by Chip Zdarsky and Rafael De La Torre. So this issue really hit home on some things for me. First and foremost is who our players are now in Daredevil's new army. And yes, I said that correctly. Daredevil has a new army at his disposal. Now, technically, we did know about this army in the past couple of issues. We know that Foggy Nelson and Detective Cole North are part of this new army of his, of the Fist, that is supposed to be able to help him defeat the Hand once and for all. He is also brought in, thanks to Elektra and Stick, brought in these mercenaries and cold-hearted fighters, warriors, and killers from across the globe who have all come together to be a part of the Fist as well. And because of the wedding ceremony that Matt and Elektra had with one another, this ancient Fist ritual, they now have unleashed superpowers and other superhuman capabilities among the rest of the warriors of the Fist. Not only that, but Daredevil's also increased his own radar sense and capabilities since marrying Elektra. So yeah, the idea of him having an army is not really breaking news, but now we know who some of these extra characters are. We did know who some of them were from the previous issue when he went to the Myrmidon and busted all these random super criminals out of prison. We knew that one of them is a former Life Foundation symbiote by the name of Agony, who has been around for quite some time, and Agony was probably the most obvious character out of the bunch. And we also knew that Stiltman was among that group as well. We also know who some of the other players are. Some characters that I didn't initially recognize because they look somewhat different than I'm used to seeing them, but characters like Fancy Dan and Buck Cashman, aka Bullet. Each of these characters have become a part of Daredevil's army and are presumably going to be taking part in the fringe benefits of being a part of the Fist. They will likely get power increases as well, at least for those who already had superpowers. Agony, thanks to the symbiote, has superhuman powers, and Bullet also possesses a random slew of superhuman capabilities himself. We also know that the character Speed Demon is also on the team, so they got a speedster, a whole speedster on the team as well, who will also benefit from a superhuman power boost, most likely. If Daredevil got it, they're likely gonna get it as well. We also can't forget characters like Dearth Garthwaite, otherwise known as Wrecker, the leader of the Wrecking Crew, who under normal circumstances also already has superhuman strength, durability, and stamina, as well as his trademark as Guardian Enchanted Crowbar. And we also can't forget Dr. Vincent Stegron, originally known as the Dinosaur Man, but is also more commonly referred to as just Stegron, a guy who got turned into a humanoid Stegosaurus, granting him superhuman strength, speed, agility, stamina, durability, reflexes, as well as razor-sharp claws and the tail of a Stegosaurus, with even some limited psionic and life force draining capabilities. Both of these characters are also going to be getting massive power boost as well. Characters like Stiltman and Fancy Dan, who are normal humans and don't have any superhuman capabilities, they will be benefiting from a similar power boost as what characters like Detective Cole North and longtime Daredevil confidant Foggy Nelson have benefited from. But the reason I say Daredevil has perfected the Thunderbolts program is because with the Thunderbolts, and I'm not talking about the original incarnation, I'm talking about some of the more recent incarnations of the Thunderbolts, where it's a government-sanctioned team, and the team is basically a bunch of super criminals who are trying to work off their sentences. And typically with that comes a lot of wacky shenanigans that usually lead to a lot of the characters on the team either being used and never really truly being given a chance to reform, or them just trying to figure out a way to get out of it and get back out to the world and do more supervillain-ish. The truth of the matter is that Daredevil is giving each of these criminals, these supervillains who have actively been whole problems in the Marvel Comics universe in the past, he's giving them a legitimate, actual chance at reformation. He's not putting control collars on them. He's not planting bombs in the back of their necks, at the base of their spine, or whatever. He's not dangling the carrot of early release if they help him with their problems. No, he's not dangling any of that. He is trying to provide a place for each of them to be able to become the best possible versions of themselves that they could ever be, and to give them a mission that is one of the most worthy causes that you could ever hope to be a part of, and that's defeating one of, if not the most deadly ninja organization in the entire Marvel Comics universe. He's giving them this opportunity, and he's not asking really anything in return. He even tells some of them that, yeah, you don't have to stay here. If you want to leave, you're more than free to leave. Now, this is where I will definitely say there might be some issues with Daredevil's plan, because as the character Bullet points out, despite the fact that Daredevil thinks he's doing something good, there are still technically some strings attached. Daredevil busted them out of jail. That's against the law. If they leave the island, where are they gonna go? Because if they go back home, they're gonna go back to jail. And while Daredevil recognizes that this is kind of the flaw in his plan, it's not something that he did by design. He feels genuinely guilty about the idea of this when Bullet brings it up to him. He is actually bothered by the idea that, oh wait, I did bust you guys out of jail, and now people are probably gonna come looking for you if you try to leave here. All of that aside, if that is really the only flaw in his plan, I don't think it's a bad plan. He is legitimately trying to help people. He even has Doc Samson there on the island to help everyone with their mental health issues and try and help them talk through their grief and how they want to reform. What do they want to get out of life now that they're free from the Myrmidon? The only other issue I will bring up with Daredevil's plan, and this actually has less to do with his intentions and more to do with the intentions of other people, is that it is brought up that since he pretty much gave a middle finger to the prison industrial complex as well as the criminal justice system as a whole, just merely in his actions of breaking into a prison, taking its prisoners out, and regardless of whether they're going to do bad things, just the idea that he's giving them an opportunity that the government itself wouldn't even be bothered to give these people, he's going to piss a lot of people off. And this actually reminds me of something that was talked about if you've ever watched my videos for the Milestone comic series Icon and Rocket. One of the things that comes up in that series when the character Rocket wants to take down all the drug dealers across the world, Icon tells her that, well, you could do that, but then more people would come in and take those people's places. You get rid of a drug dealer on the corner today, there'll be another drug dealer on the corner by the next day. If you take out the people who supply those drug dealers, new suppliers will come into play next. And even if you take out all of them, it's not gonna guarantee that you're gonna save the entire world in doing so. And technically, in that comic, they do exactly that. They take out all the drug dealers across the entire globe, removing every single source of the drug trade. But here's the problem. When you do that, you upset the other people who benefit from it, even if they don't necessarily partake of the drugs, maybe just simply gain money from it. Entire world governments were pissed off by this because the drug trade fuels a lot of the world's economy. And that's kind of what's happening here with Daredevil and busting these prisoners out of jail. If Daredevil sets this as the standard and continues doing things of this nature, he is going to upset the prison industrial complex system. And what I mean by that is that the government and the criminal justice system are overlapping in a shared interest of gaining money by exploiting mass incarcerations, re-incarcerations, and creating a revolving door system of these prisoners going into jail, not getting reformed, getting out, and then coming right back in and keeping money flowing into their coffers. And we already know the Avengers are eyeballing Daredevil already because of him busting those prisoners out of the Myrmidon. But another issue that kind of comes up here as well is that we also know that the Daredevil is preparing for a face-off with the Punisher, because as you may or may not know, the Punisher right now is technically the leader of the Hand, even though he kind of seems like more of a puppet than anything else. I think technically there are other people who outrank him, at least in terms of what's going on behind the scenes, but in terms of appearances, Punisher is in fact the leader of the Hand. I still believe, even though Akka shows a lot of deference to the Punisher, I feel like it's the same situation as what was going on with the Archpriestess in the Punisher series that's running currently by Jason Aaron. She's using him more as a tool, even though technically she's giving him a lot of leeway, but I think by the time we get to the end of this, we're gonna learn Punisher never really had any actual true power over anyone else in the Hand. We all know at the end of the day, regardless of what human is the face of the leadership of the Hand, it always comes back to the Beast. But as I was saying earlier, the Avengers, they're coming after Daredevil now, and more specifically, Iron Man is going after Elektra, who is also operating as Daredevil, because as we learned in the previous issue, Akka and the rest of the Hand had infiltrated all of the world's governments and had put in puppets in place of each of the world's major leaders. And that's something Elektra has been checking in on, and the rumor that that was the case is proven true, because when she encounters the French president, he pretty much tells her, yeah, I'm taking over and there's not really anything you can do about it. The people who have been taken over aren't the original people who they once were. Their souls are actually trapped in hell with the Beast, and these other souls have been put in their place that are loyal to the Hand. And what we learn from this one soul, and once again, this is a puppet of the Hand, so who's to say whether or not it's being truthful, but one thing Elektra has not told Matt about the prophecy regarding the Fist is that either herself or him are gonna have to die in order for this prophecy to be fulfilled. And based on the fact that Elektra is shown not having any real actual reaction to what this fake Quotey Fingers French president is telling her, it lets you know right off rip that, yeah, she already knew, but she's keeping this close to the chest, not because she feels like Matt wouldn't go along with the plan if he knew the truth, but more because she knows that if Matt knows that one of them is gonna have to sacrifice themselves, he's gonna choose himself over sacrificing her. And I think that's why she's been kind of playing everything close to the chest on this matter. But the other problem is that because of the nature of how Elektra has been going after these Quotey Fingers imposter world leaders, it's now made international news that Elektra killed the French president, which technically she didn't, he was already dead, but that's besides the point. Right now, the world knows that Daredevil is a criminal, and this has kind of flipped everything on its head, where Punisher, where it kind of seemed like he was going the more criminal route, even though technically kind of was, he kind of wasn't. But now this has given Punisher even more reason to clap back against Daredevil, especially now that Akka is in the picture and she has made sure that Punisher has an army ready to take down Daredevil. The fact that Daredevil, regardless of whether it's Matt or Elektra, has been framed for murder, this has given Frank Castle all the reason he needs to go after Daredevil. He really had no interest in fighting against Daredevil at first, but now that Daredevil's been branded a murderer, it's open season. Now, another thing that people are probably going to be wondering about is, what did Daredevil do with Goldie? Goldie is still on the island hanging out with him, though he did not take his power inhibitor away from him. He still has it to make sure that, Goldie can't use his powers of influence to try and force anyone on the island, much less Daredevil himself, to do anything. And that's kind of pretty much where that story is right now. It's kind of pretty much where that plot thread falls off. You're not gonna see any resolution or any quick resolution to that anytime terribly soon. At least I don't think we will. I think eventually, at some point, Daredevil, in the midst of everything going on right now, with the Avengers that are going to be bearing down on him soon, especially after what Elektra did to Iron Man in this issue, stabbing him in his side with a knife sharp enough and slim enough that it could pierce even Iron Man's armor. I'm pretty sure we're going to see the Avengers pull up on him very soon. We know that Punisher and the rest of the Hand are going to be pulling up on him very soon, and I'm pretty sure that the cult of personality that he has built up on that island, that is technically his army of the Fist, I don't think it's actually going to go perfectly for him at first. I think it's going to take time for that group of lively personalities and ne'er-do-wells and just all around supervillains. It's going to take a minute for that to actually work out before it gets any better. So I feel like at some point Daredevil's going to be at the end of his rope and he's going to be forced to take Goldie off his leash. But anyways, that's everything I want to talk about with Daredevil number 6. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. So we're getting real close to 75,000 subscribers. And let me know what you thought about Daredevil number 6. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.